Hello everyone, welcome to Think Critically. I'm your host, Tina Chen. Today, we will have one of my favorite topics, education. As a person who grew up in Taiwan and eventually immigrated to America, I experienced both the Taiwanese and American educational systems, and I'm eventually working in the educational fields as well. Personally, I could say there are pros and cons to both systems in various aspects. So, today's podcast will be my take on the new Taiwanese educational policy attempting to steer Taiwan toward globalization. In recent years, Taiwan experienced a series of educational reforms, such as K-12 108 curriculum and EMI in higher education. Being implemented in 2019, the 12-year complementary 108 curriculum aims both to help the students excel in academic subjects and to foster their core competency in order to nurture their talent and develop their passion for the lifelong learning. Along with the secondary education reforms, Taiwan's Ministry of Education has already begun to reshape its higher education landscape since 2017, after introducing English as a medium instruction (ENI) courses on college campuses. The same subject can be taught under two different language instructions. One is in Chinese, while the other one is in English. The need for this drastic educational change in Taiwan might be described by one of my former students' reflection.
It's very difficult for me to apply for college overseas because the Taiwanese national exam isn't accepted internationally. When I decided to apply for a university overseas, I had to study extra exams in English on top of Taiwanese required subjects. For example, when I was in high school in Taiwan, I wanted to be an exchange student in France. However, Taiwan's English proficiency test isn't recognized internationally, so I had to prepare for the Cambridge exam to prove my English ability. I also have French exchange students who stayed in my house for one semester. It was comical to see the interactions. English we learned at school can't even help us to communicate well.
The educational system change is to offer Taiwanese students more opportunities to study abroad and get more experience in international cultural exchanges. Not to mention that about 60,000 Taiwanese students study abroad out of 130,000 Taiwanese high school graduates in 2021, according to the Ministry of Education in Taiwan. In fact, Taiwan ranked number 6 as the country that sends the most international students to the U.S. last year as well. Under these circumstances, no wonder the government enacts the new educational policy. Especially during and after the COVID pandemic, Taiwan increasingly became the focal point in the international news. More and more countries are aware of Taiwan and would like to have better exchange programs with Taiwan. However, should students wait until college to gain this experience and start utilizing their English ability?
I often dream to study or live in other countries. However, when I began to collaborate with other foreign students or study abroad for one semester, I often felt that I couldn't catch up with their thinking and viewpoints. It's like they have already gained all the experiences in the world. They knew how to communicate and articulate their viewpoints precisely and perfectly, even though they might not look like they are listening in class. They seem always to know what they want and take charge of their lives.
Betty is my former student. She is now studying her master's in England. But from what I heard from her, bilingual education that actually help the academic subjects and also develop people's talent probably will not have much effect if it doesn't actually begin early with a complete structure that can be modified over time. So the comprehensive revision of the education systems echo the concept of globalization that supports Taiwan's integration into the international community, in hope that the the students can actually have an easier time connecting with their international peers, and also Taiwan can get more traffic and attention on the world stage. However, many concerns are raised by parents and educators. Parents and their kids are worried more affluent families probably have more advantage to this new curriculum. They are concerned that economic inequality probably outweighs the good intention for this educational change. In addition, some educators and parents question whether their children in those international schools really learn something useful compared to their local school peers. Let's hear what my former international students has to say.
I know that people often look at me as a rich and entitled kid whose family has money. We get off school earlier and don't have to study. However, it's not like everyone thinks that American education is easy. We actually have to learn more independently and sometimes way beyond our ability at times. For example, under the IB program, when we graduate from high school, we need to write at least 1,500 words of research papers, essays, and reports for each subject on top of a 2,200-word thesis and 4,000 words extend essays on the subject we are interested and might pursue in the future. In addition, we also need to take essay writing exams on all subjects as well, unlike Taiwanese multiple-choice exams.
The misconception about various education systems sometimes can go both ways. Taiwanese local education is often viewed as testing heaven, all about grades, while American education is often viewed as an easy testing and doesn't provide sufficient content for people to survive after graduation. Follow the differences. I interviewed another former students of mine who graduated from a local Taiwanese high school and is now at Purdue University in America.
It's interesting to notice there are two groups of Taiwanese students in American colleges. One group of students graduates from Taiwanese high schools while the other group of students graduates from international schools in Taiwan. Taiwanese students from local high schools usually can ace exams, but in terms of classroom activities or participation, they don't really have much impact. They might have a deeper knowledge of the subject matter, but they generally have less ability to put together a project in a short amount of time under pressure. In addition, their ability to research and study independently is critically low. Probably it's because of the cramming culture in the Taiwanese education system. It's all about testing and scores. But I also want to point out, even though more than half of Taiwanese students from international schools in Taiwan have decent to excellent grades, I also noticed quite a few of them couldn't comprehend academic knowledge. Without fundamental knowledge, they can't even begin their project. For me, it's a paradox to find balance in any education system. I experienced both Taiwanese and American systems. I think they both have pros and cons.
Just like how President Bush's No Child Left Behind in 2001 was supposed to increase people's competitiveness in secondary education at the international level, it was soon modified into President Obama's ESSA to bring more career-oriented and real-life applications in order to help children for their future careers. At the same time, it also recognized that there are other subjects and intelligence that people might possess other than their linguistic and mathematical ability. Every concern shouldn't be taken lightly. However, history has already told us nothing is perfect. Every step humans have already taken to reach today's came from the failures and mistakes that we made. But one thing is for sure, if we aren't ready for changes, then we might face being eliminated and lose any opportunities that Taiwan will have in the future. So this educational change probably, hopefully, will for the best, not for the worst for Taiwan. Thank you for listening. My name is Tina Chen, and hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast on Think Critically. See you next time.